This call is being conducted on Saturday, November 26, 2011, with Mr. Howard Vandermeer at the Indian Prairie Library in Darien, Illinois. My name is Deb Barrett. Mr. Vandermeer was born on July 17, 1925, in Chicago, Illinois. He is a retired president of a company called Rail to Water Transfer from South Chicago. And he learned of the Veterans History Project through Joe Popowich, the reference librarian in charge of the project here. Mr. Vandermeer has kindly consented to be interviewed for this project. Here is his story. Howard, tell us, where were you living when you entered the service? What was your life like just before you went in?
Well, I was one of 7 children, and I was on the tail end of the food chain. And we lived in Roseland area
Of Chicago.
in Chicago, and that's the only home I really ever knew when I was young. And then I went to Fenger High School, which is still in Chicago, and not too long after that, I got a few part-time jobs, but eventually my number came up and I was drafted into the service.
And how old were you when you were drafted? Had you already graduated from high school?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
So I had a notice sent to my parents' house that said I had to report to an induction to the local draft board.
Okay.
And I went there. So I went to the draft board, and there was a school bus sitting there, and there was about 35 of us that herded on the bus. May I inject
sure.
May I inject some humor?
Absolutely.
So they took us downtown to some big induction place, and we got in this room, and by the way, on the bus, very few people were talking to each other. I think they felt like I did. What's going to happen to me next?
Right. Now, how did your parents react in your family? Did they expect this?
Oh, yes, yes. In that
Okay.
day and age, that was quite good.
Okay.
So we got in this big room, and there was a very long table with about 8 or 9 officers sitting by them. The first fellow took my papers, and he looked them over, and he stamped them Army. He stamped them Navy. And I looked at him. I said, I don't want to go in the Navy. And he said, well, I'll be darned. You don't want to go in the Navy. I'll call the Secretary of the Army, and I'll tell him that. And of course, I couldn't find a crack small enough to crawl into. And he said, I want you to come with me, follow me. And I said, I don't mind serving my country. I just don't want to be in the Navy, that's all. And everybody's looking at me. I felt so humiliated and almost shameful.
Uh-huh.
He took me in an end office, and there was an officer in there who probably was a psychologist, and he said to me, now, young man, I understand you don't want to be in the Navy. Can you give me a good reason for that? He said, because you know Dutchmen are the world's best sailors. They brought all the tea from Indonesia in frigates and big sailing vessels to England and to Rotterdam. And he says, and you don't like the Navy? I said, not really. Well, why? I said, well, because if the captain makes a mistake and turns the boat to port instead of the other way, and they take a torpedo, we'll all go down because of the captain's mistake. And that's why I would rather be in the Army. I have better control over my own destiny than having somebody like a captain figure it out for me. This man sat back. He said, well, I'll tell you something. You're the only person I'll ever change this for. That was a good reason. So he scratched it out and he wrote down Army. And that was the beginning of my military career. I was skinny, shook up, and apprehensive about everything that was going to happen to me. And that's where I am. So from there.
So where were you inducted? Where?
Well, we went to Fort Sheridan.
Okay.
We were only there for a short time.
And what happened besides your conversation about Army or Navy? What else happened while you were in Fort Sheridan?
Nothing much. That was sort of a holding pen for new draftees.
How many men were in that facility that you saw?
I really don't know, but there was a whole lot of them. They were coming from all over the Midwest. And my bus load was just a
little bit,
little tiny bit. And so they finally gave me orders, and they put some of us on a train, and we went to Camp Roberts, California, where I took basic training in field artillery.
So in Fort Sheridan, you got your equipment, you were sworn in,
Yeah,
all of that,
yeah.
and then you got on a train.
And we went to Camp Roberts.
How long did that train trip take?
I think it was almost 2 days.
Did you know anybody on the train from your old neighborhood?
Never knew a person.
What was the train trip like? Did you have, did the guys play cards? Did you read? Was it noisy, quiet?
I think some of the soldiers were getting somewhat relaxed because of the length of the train ride. So I was talking to a fellow who was sitting near me, and people were starting to fraternize with each other. They don't have any choice.
Right.
And so when we got there, that's when I began my basic training in the field artillery.
Had you been to California before?
Never.
Okay.
It was a new experience.
So what was it like when you stepped off the train? Did they have a bus waiting for you, or?
Oh, they had buses waiting for us, and they put us in a barrack, and we had a half a day to settle down, and the next morning we had to go on a march.
So what was your barracks like? Was it the one level barrack, like a quintet kind of thing?
It was a two-story barrack.
Two-story barracks.
Yeah.
Bunk beds or?
What?
Bunk beds or individual beds?
Bunk beds.
Bunk beds.
I spent my first night in that barrack. I was on the first floor. I don't know how they picked me for the first floor, but the next day we went on a forced march.
And how did they wake you up? Very gently, right?
Yeah.
How did they wake you up? Do you remember?
Well, the first sergeant hollered from the end of the hall, "Everybody up!"
And how much time did you have before he came down the row?
Oh, I'd say 10 or 15 minutes.
Okay.
And so he'd say, "Fall out." Everybody go outside and line up. And then we started our first march.
How far did you have to march that first time?
Right. And so, and he was a rather nice man. I was very impressionable. I like people who like people. And he was quite nice. And after, I believe it was 9 months, our orders were changed, and we had heard that the war was going bad and they needed more soldiers overseas. And
so let's back up a little bit. You were doing your forced march.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what life was like during those 9 months.
Oh.
What was your?
It was kind of nice. I've never been in an area where there's such big hills and nearby mountains, and we would
certainly not in Chicago.
That's right. And so we were trained to use 105 millimeter howitzers.
Okay.
And we would go up to a place called Hunter Leggett, which is a huge military reservation, and we'd fire at targets somebody put up on the mountainside. That's really what I was trained for.
So was this part of your initial training, your basic training, or was that your MOS?
Training.
That was part of your basic.
Right. And,
okay.
And so finally, they came up and they told several of us we were going to get a furlough, and we'd have 5 days. So we went back home, and I spent 4 days with my family.
How did you get back home? Train?
By train.
Okay.
And then
So,
I had to report to uh, South Camp Polk in Louisiana.
okay,
And,
let's go. Did they, when you went to you went to visit your family, did they tell you why you were getting a furlough?
no,
They just said you're getting a furlough.
well, yeah, because we're in between different training sessions,
Okay, so you had your basic training,
right?
and you talked about the march you did that first morning.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more about what it was like in just like a typical day during that time. What time were you awakened? What was meal
Oh,
like?
we got up generally at 6:30
Okay,
in the morning, and every day we had to fall outside and do exercises, push-ups, and things like that. That was a daily routine,
uh-huh,
and sometimes we'd hitch our guns behind a truck and go up into the mountains and start shooting at targets.
did you have classroom time at all?
Well, we did.
What sort of things
Not
did you
very
learn?
often.
What sort of classroom training did you get?
Well, that kind of training in a classroom had much to do with safety of the equipment we were using, how to use it, how to load a shell in, how to catch a hot shell when it's fired, and things like that. That's really what the school part was.
You had to learn how to use a rifle too?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay, had you fired a gun before?
Well, I was a hunter,
So that was not new to you, okay.
right? And
And what were your meals like?
I
Were they
don't even
good?
remember, but they were good.
You were probably hungry by the
And
time mealtime came around.
That's right. And on weekends, I met a fella who, he and I became sort of friends. And he says, "Howard, you want to go with me? I'm going home near Los Angeles." I said, "Well, I don't know. I was going to go to church on the base here." He said, "Well, I'll take you to something you'll never forget." So I went with him, and we hitchhiked to Los Angeles.
Okay, in your uniform?
Yeah,
In your uniform?
oh sure. And he took me to hear Amy Semple Ferguson, or I think
Right, right,
a famous woman pastor.
uh-huh,
Remember her?
right, I do.
And I did. And she really blew me away. She's dancing around up on the stage.
Wasn't a typical church service.
I'm from an old Dutch family. We don't do that in our church. You know? But she was just so dramatic, you know. And her sermon was good. And then my friend took me to his parents' house, and we had dinner, and then we had a quick leave to go back to the camp.
You had to be back by a certain time?
Yeah, we had to be back by, I think it was 7 o'clock or 7:30.
And what happened if you didn't get back in time?
Oh, nothing really. They weren't that strict.
Okay.
But I did that for almost 9 months, and
Okay.
I got to see a little bit of California that way. And that was a rather interesting experience because I never thought in my life I'd be working on a 105 millimeter cannon, you know. Gee, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of surprised me. And I really felt bad when I was told I was going to get a furlough and then have to report to Camp Polk, because one of the staff sergeants who was in charge of our barrack, he says, "I want to tell you guys something." He says, "And you can set your clock by this too. You're going to go to Camp Polk South." He said, "There's only one worse place than North Camp Polk, and that's Southwick Camp Polk." And he says, "They're going to walk you 50 miles a day." He says, "You're going to learn how to crawl under machine gun fire." And he says, "When they get through with you, you will be a soldier's soldier." And that made me, I got a little bit worried.
Didn't sound like fun, did it?
He didn't. paint a pretty picture. So when I got there at Camp Polk, uh, I had a tech sergeant who was in charge of our barracks, and he was an older fellow. And I don't know why he liked me, but I didn't get some of the dirty details that some other guys got.
Like what did some other guys get?
Well, I always had my bed made. You know, he'd come out and inspect how your bed was made every morning.
And if he didn't like it, what would happen?
He'd just grab one in and throw it across the hall and go get it and do it again.
Okay.
And he never did that to me. I guess that came from my upbringing. I was raised in a large family, and everybody had their place, and everything had its place. And I just do that intuitively.
Right.
I don't need a letter or order.
Yeah.
So he took a sort of a shine to me. And I don't remember how long we were there, but it seemed like forever because they worked us so terribly hard. We went through calisthenics, we went through all sorts of exercises, road marches. We crawled under live machine gun fire. And
so that sergeant in California had been right.
That's right, absolutely. And as we went along, we finally were told that we were going to go overseas.
Did they tell you where overseas?
No, they didn't say anything. They just said we're going to be mounting up the following week, and we'll be going to a ship-out station on the East Coast. They took us to the East Coast. I forget the name of the fort that we were in.
Is it by train again?
Yeah.
Were you able to tell your family that you were leaving?
No.
Were you able to be in contact with your family during your basic training?
Yes. Oh, yes.
But
Of course,
you were not allowed
in those days, the telephones were not that
right.
frequent and cheap.
Yeah.
My mother had a nickel when you put a nickel in every time you make a call. So we were on the frugal side.
That's right.
But we finally got to the East Coast, and I think we were there for 2 days.
Okay.
And then we got aboard a ship.
Do you remember the name of the ship?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I remember the one going to Japan. That was the Sea Bass.
Okay.
But I don't remember the other one. But it was a passenger ship that was converted to a military ship.
Okay.
And on the back of it, the fantail, they mounted a cannon, and off we went.
How many men do you think were on the ship? Any idea?
Oh, I would say there had to be 1,200.
Okay. All Army?
All Army, all from the 8th Armored Division, 49th Infantry Battalion, of which I was in.
Okay.
So we moved as a unit, and we got to England, and they put us on another train.
So how long did that trip take you across the Atlantic?
I think that took us 3 or 4 days. I'm not sure.
That was a pretty quick trip, though.
I can't be sure, but I know at one time there was a submarine alert. And
okay. What did you have to do?
Well, we were told when we got on the ship, if anything happens, what to do. Go back to your bunk.
Okay.
And stay there. And so they had this alert, and some of the crewmen fired this big gun in the back. It must have been a 105 millimeter or 155 millimeter, I should say. And it shook the boat so bad that some of the water pipes came loose.
Oh.
So when you're down in the galley where you eat, why, there was about a foot of water. Well, when the ship rolls this way, there's 3 feet deep here, nothing up here.
Right.
Then it changes to the other side. And that was one of the exciting moments on that trip across the Atlantic. And the Germans were sinking our ships like all get out. And fortunately, we made it.
Now you said you were told to go to your bunk. Did you have regular bunks, or were they the hammocks?
They're hammocks.
How tall, how many
Three
high?
hammocks high.
3 high?
Yeah.
And how many in a room?
Huh?
How many were in each room? In each cabin or in the space? Were you in a big, were you in individual cabins, like 3 in a cabin?
No, we didn't go in individual cabins.
You're in big rooms.
Big rooms, yeah. And
So where were you? In the middle, the top, or the bottom bunk?
I was in the middle.
Hammock. You were in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we finally got to England, and they took us to a place called Kidderminster.
Okay.
Very quaint little English village. And there, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And several of us who got along together pretty good, we kept asking questions of other people. What do they do in Kidderminster? And finally we found out that we were going to have some more advanced training.
Now, what year was this? Do you remember?
That's all in 1944. We were taught how to ride the back of a tank.
The back of a tank.
Hang
okay.
on to the back end of a tank, up on a tank, but laying down on it.
Uh-huh.
And then these tanks would go down some big hills and back up again, and the object just hang on. So we did that for about 2 weeks, and then we shipped out. We went across the channel. And we were nowhere near Omaha Beach or any of that. We were latecomers to the war.
Okay.
When we got there, we went to Pont-à-Mousson, France, almost as far as you could go in France without going into Belgium.
Okay.
And there we were billeted in a field. And,
What were your living conditions like?
Well,
Were you
they
intense?
varied. As it happened, it turned cold. In a distance, I could see a cathedral. I'm not sure, but I don't remember which one it was. But that stood up above the whole countryside. It was a magnificent view. And we had to sleep. They pulled our half tracks off the road and put it in an orchard.
Okay.
And the company commander said, well, take your bedrolls out and put them on the ground. And there's about 4 to 5 inches of snow.
Okay.
So I went to take my bayonet out of my scabbard, and it was frozen.
Oh, wow.
I went to untie a knot, and the knot holding my bedroll was frozen. We had all kinds of 15-cent problems when we got there.
So you had to have your bedroll out in the snow sleeping.
Right. And suddenly the chaplain came along, and he told us to take our canteens off and hold the cups up. And he poured about this much bourbon in them.
About 2 inches or so?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He says, that'll keep you warm during the night. Chaplain passing out booze.
Yeah.
So that's where we were. And from there on, then we started moving toward Holland. And this is when Patton was on his rampage.
Okay.
And he was advancing so fast, they couldn't keep up with them, bringing fuel for their tanks and their half-tracks. So we wound up filling our half-track with maybe 18 or 20 cans of gas. And fortunately, there was no enemies there. If they'd
Yeah, there'd been fire.
So we were bringing those forward for 2 days. And then from there, I don't remember the towns, but we were in the Netherlands.
Now, you have relatives there?
No,
Or you don't have relatives there?
No.
Okay.
but I made some friends there.
Okay.
I'll tell you about that. Remind me to
Sure.
tell you about that. So we got up to the Ruhr River, and that's the first time I really saw firsthand what a terrible combat mission looks like. The Germans were on this side of the river, and we're on this side of the river. And there would be 5 5 P-47s circling high up in the air, and the Germans were shooting their guns at those planes. And as they make one turn, one plane would peel off and go down and dive bomb.
Okay.
And we were just sitting on the hill watching all this fireworks. And I thought that was so awesome because many times a guy who came down like this never came up because they caught him, you know.
Right.
And that really made me think hard about what's going to happen to us.
Yeah, this is no exercise.
No, that's right. So eventually we went over the Roar River, and we were in a little tiny town and sort of dug in, and there was some haystacks out in this field. And one of my friends discovered something unusual. He says, "See that second haystack, Howard?" I says, "Yeah." "Where we're standing right now, it looks like there's 15 feet between them. Did you know yesterday there was 30 feet between them?" I said, "You mean somebody's in them haystacks?" He said, "You're damn right. I know that."
Yeah.
So our lieutenant knew that too. And so we had to crawl over this field, which was maybe, I would say, 1,000 yards.
Okay.
That's a pretty long stretch. And we had to go at night. We couldn't go the first night because there was a full moon. We had to go the next night. And we had prods to poke in the ground to hit.
Whoever was in the haystacks.
No.
Oh.
This is in case they put mines in the
Oh,
ground.
okay.
See? So we went all the way across there, and we were getting ready to turn by the edge of a road and go toward those haystacks. And all of a sudden we see these, I think it was 11 German soldiers walking down this road. So we all jumped in the ditch, and there was one guy in our platoon. He knew a little bit of German, but we're all sitting there hunched down. We didn't really know what to do. And we were all scared.
Yeah.
And so they came fairly close, and this friend says, "Up with their hands." And they put up their hands. We took 13 prisoners.
Wow.
And we made them walk back because we figured they knew where the mines were.
That's
so
right.
We put them in front of us, and we walked back.
Was your lieutenant with you?
Huh?
Was your lieutenant
Yeah.
with you? Okay. So you took prisoners.
Yeah.
Where did you take them?
Well, we brought them back to where we were billeted, and then somebody else came from another outfit and took them away. But that was our first encounter with the enemy, and my one friend who lived in Grand Rapids, and we were buddies most of the time in the war, up until the time he died. He used to call me every once in a while. "Howard, remember how we caught all them guys?" And so from there we moved on. And
Did you ever get the guys in the haystacks?
yes. What happened is the next day they brought up some artillery, and that took care of the haystacks.
Okay.
And because we are not in the we're not an artillery company.
Right.
So we are armored infantry soldiers. That's what we are. We can operate an M1, a carbine, a grease gun, that's a machine gun.
Okay.
We can operate a bazooka, a mortar, every kind of ordnance. We were all trained in that in Camp Polk.
Okay.
And so they finally got rid of the haystacks, and then we got orders to move on. So I don't remember how far we went or where we went, but my lieutenant, his name was Lieutenant Bill Freeworth, only came up to about here on me.
He was a short guy.
Yeah. And rank don't mean much in combat.
Right.
You could be a major or a colonel. You're there because you're trying to save your skin and somebody else's. You're not worried about whether you got gold bars or silver bars. You know?
Right.
So he used to sit around and tell the guys, he said, you know, when we go on a scouting mission, I like to take Howard Vandermeer with me because he's so tall, and the Krauts will think that big guy must be the head officer, and they're going to shoot him. You wouldn't believe this, but a week later, we were in a position where we were trapped by some Germans, and we dismounted from our half tracks, and Bill Freeworth says, and I had the radio strapped on my back.
Right.
He says, Howard, come over by these couple of bushes here. We're going to order some mortar fire on the Germans. So he gave me the coordinates, and I called them in, and they verified that was the right numbers and all that. And within 2 minutes, you could hear these mortars coming over our head, and one fell short. I was probably 6 to 7 feet away from Lieutenant Freeworth. It hit in front of him, and a piece of shrapnel almost cut his head off.
Wow.
It killed him instantly.
Wow.
That's when I started reorganizing my thought process.
Okay.
That really scared me.
Yeah.
First of all, he was a nice guy. Sort of like losing a friend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You'd never know he was a second lieutenant, said the English.
And the English, right.
And I learned from that a whole lot of things about trying to save yourself and what you think you can do to help others. So we went on and on. I can't tell you how many little gunfires we were in, but being that we were in half tracks, strafing by some German airplanes was not uncommon. And fortunately, our platoon never really had a problem that way. I don't know why that was, because we all talked about that. We're moving targets sitting on the road.
Yeah.
Plane can't miss you, you know. So we went on, and one through one town and another. And we got to the place where this citation was written about.
Your Bronze Star?
Yeah. And they said that our intelligence operatives said there's not too many Germans between us and the Rhine River now.
Okay.
So we went down this road, and all they did was lay a trap for us. And after they got our whole unit on this road, then they started opening fire.
Okay.
They were using machine gun fire.
You were circled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Both sides of the road, they were coming together.
Right.
And so it got so bad, we had to dismount. And what I did was I stayed by my 50 caliber gun, and I kept spraying it this way to keep
Side to side to keep them at bay.
keep the Germans down, while our guys left the tracks in front of me and behind me and in my track.
And where did our guys go?
Huh?
Where did our guys go?
They went on the other side of the road, and there was more Germans on this side than this side.
So they went on the side where there were fewer Germans.
Right.
Okay.
And they hid in some woods. And
did they get behind the Germans then?
they did run into a few. Apparently this assault was from one direction.
Okay.
So that's what happened. And
so you were firing
yeah,
to keep the Germans at bay, so our men could get off, and
yeah.
And so what? And
See, we had 5 half tracks in our platoon,
okay.
And that's something I just did instinctively. I'm trained to do that, you know. And
Did you stay there firing, or did you have to do something else at some point?
after everybody left, I got out of the half track, and I was that citation says I made myself a messenger, and I ran between different units of our division,
So,
tell them what was going on.
okay, so all our guys were gone and you were the only one left?
No,
The
no.
Germans were gone?
The Germans, I got a note here that says how many we got.
And your citation here for the Bronze Star, it said, the lieutenant colonel said, I wish to specifically mention, I desire to personally commend you for your heroic service and gallantry against the enemy in Rheinberg, Germany, March 5th, 1945. I wish to specifically mention your personal initiative and daring during the above-mentioned engagement, not only for the covering fire that you furnished the men in your track so that they might deploy, but for your devotion to duty in the operating of your radio when all others had been forced to take cover. I understand that after that you acted as a dismounted messenger.
Right. Um,
So how long were you firing on the Germans?
I really don't know.
Just
Oh, probably for a good half hour.
okay,
And
a pretty intense half hour.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
In the battle for Rheinberg, we took 179 PWs. There was 81 enemies killed, 75 enemies wounded. We knocked out 6 88 millimeter guns, 5 20 millimeter guns, 15 33 small arms were captured, and 5 vehicles were knocked out.
Okay, and you were in the Bronze Star for your performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we had all sorts of funny things happen. Some were funny.
Yeah, like what?
Well, we were told we were in another part of Germany before we got to Rheinberg, and we got a call on my radio, and it said, when you get to the junction, the first 3 tanks stop there, half-track stop there, and put your 50 caliber guns on the church steeple. There's a lookout, a German lookout up in the steeple, and he's the guy that's telling them where to lob these mortars to hit us. So the 3 of us did that. Yeah. We cut the top of the steeple off.
Yeah.
And I saw the guy fall out of the...
So you did see it, yeah.
Yeah. That was just one of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just, you know, it's just something that stays in your mind. And I look at sometimes where I was, we were in hand-to-hand combat in a small town, and my 2 friends and I were in this house, and what we didn't know, the next house had 4 or 5 Germans in it.
Right next door to where you were staying there?
Yeah, and those houses were probably from the edge of this table to the wall apart.
So probably like
So the Germans opened their window and they threw a German hand grenade through our window.
Okay.
And fortunately, we weren't in that room that time.
So what town was that in?
I really
remember?
don't know,
Okay,
because we move so fast.
Right.
You're going all over the place. And that was just one thing. And one of my friends was in another bedroom looking around, and another hand grenade came through the window. And he picked it up and threw it back. They have sticks on theirs.
sticks?
Yeah, our hand grenades will fit in your hand, and you
Right.
pull the pin and throw them.
Right,
They have them on sticks so they can get more leverage.
okay.
It's much better than ours. And so
So
he
he-
picked it up and he threw it back through the window and went in that house, and that took care of that.
That took care of that problem, huh? Okay.
So that was just one little incident. I'm trying to think of something else that was kind of interesting. Um,
So this is still in Germany in
All-
1945,
all in Germany, yeah.
all in 1945?
And one of the hard things was when it was cold out, we'd have to take some kind of soluble white paint and stripe our half tracks because they're green and they stand out in the snow
Oh,
so
okay.
bad, see? And we do that this morning before we leave to go somewhere, and the next morning the sun is out.
You have to take the white paint off.
Big government. That's the beginning of big government.
Right.
So
So tell me about the hand-to-hand combat you were in.
well, that was right in that town where these guys were throwing those things out the windows.
Okay, did they surprise you? Did you surprise them?
I really think we surprised each other.
Okay,
They were probably expecting us, but they didn't expect us to be looking out the window right into their place,
right.
and vice versa. And we
Okay.
were as shocked as they were. But we don't always ride on our tracks, half tracks. We sometimes dismount.
Mhm.
They're just vehicles to get us where we're going. And we've been in areas where I really don't know how many people we could have killed or wounded, but we advanced toward a group of barns or something like that, and you'd get fire back from, and then you know there's somebody in there.
Right.
So what really happened that got me out of the Army was we were in one place in Germany, and my friend and I were going to knock out a German tank. We could hear the big things going over the cogs of the thing.
Did it have a different sound than our tanks?
Huh?
Did it have a different sound?
Yeah, it goes clunk, 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 the
Uh-huh,
things going over.
okay.
We could hear them coming, so my friend and I, we got our bazooka out of the half track, and then we ran over in this orchard, and we were a little ways from a big barn, and we were right near the edge of this road, and we laid flat on the ditch, and we waited until he went by, and then we fired this bazooka. And I admit none of us had that much bazooka training really, but we knew the nomenclature of it, what to do. So my friend said, "Here we go." So he pulled the trigger, and I was pretty close to the back end of him. And the backflash from the bazooka took my eyebrows off and my little mustache. That's what you call up close.
Yeah.
And it hit he hit the right spot. He hit where the radiator was.
Okay.
And it went through there. Anywhere else on those big German tanks, you couldn't do much. Well, the next thing you know, smoke started pouring out. And Germans, and we left our bazooka there, and we ran as fast as we could because they were coming out of this tank. And I think only 2 or 3 of them came out. There's usually 4 or 5. And
was it just you and your buddy there?
yeah.
Okay. Just
So we ran toward this big barn. We didn't want to go in it, but the first thing we did wrong, we saw a foxhole, and we both jumped in it and landed on a dead German soldier.
Oh.
So we got out of there fast.
Yeah.
And as we're running from there, somebody that got out of that tank, there was only maybe 1 or 2 that made it. He had a machine gun, and he hit my friend in the leg.
Okay.
So I had to help my friend go from that spot there to another foxhole, and I found one right next to this barn. Well,
Were you
in the
carrying your friend
meantime,
or just helping him
yeah,
walk, run?
right, yeah.
Okay.
And the tank was burning,
Uh-huh.
and the munitions started exploding in the tank, and that threw up huge plumes of black smoke. Well, the Germans saw that, so they sent 6 more tanks, I think, or more.
Okay.
And we're in this foxhole, and you could hear them coming. In fact, we were just close enough I could hear them talking out of the turrets of their tanks, one to the other, in German. And they finally came up to the tank that was burning, and 3 of them turned their guns on this barn, and they let go a volley of fire, and they just blew practically the whole side of this.
So they assumed you'd run in there.
Huh?
They assumed you had run into there.
They thought we did,
Right.
but we didn't. We're in this foxhole. But suddenly, the building collapsed, and if this is our foxhole,
Uh-huh.
the roof came down like this,
Into your foxhole? Or just before?
just above it. There was
Okay.
a little bit in it, and we couldn't get out of the foxhole.
Okay.
And these eaves are about this long, and
Couple
they're
feet
partially
long.
in our foxhole.
So you're really pinned in there.
Well,
There's
yeah,
no way out.
we couldn't get out, and because we could hear the Germans talking, we didn't have any yearning to go out, get
Right.
out. So we had to sit in there. In the meantime, it's raining, and all the water is running down this roof and right into our hole. And I was taking my helmet,
Bailey.
and I fished out with my bayonet a little piece of dirt where I could go real hard and get a little bit of water out.
Bail out the foxhole a little bit
Yeah.
without being noticed.
Right, and we were probably standing in water between, if we stood up, it'd be between our ankles and our knees.
Okay.
That's how fast the water was coming in.
Okay.
And I took my friend's, he had a sweater on, something like this, you might say.
Uh-huh.
And I wrapped up his leg in that thing, and we just kept hearing the Germans talking out there, yelling at each other, do this, do that, and whatever. And so we couldn't leave. In the meantime, we couldn't leave because the roof had us.
It did.
Yeah,
Right.
penned in. We didn't have a shovel. So we stayed in there for 29 hours.
Wow.
And that was the next morning. And then we heard some noise, and I had a little area I could kind of see a little bit out, that's all. And here was some American trucks with some infantry guys in it. So I started yelling as loud as I could, and they finally came over, and we were rescued by some guys from the 7th Army who were on an offensive going the other way.
Okay.
So they dug us out, and Uh,
How was your friend?
my friend wasn't very well. He lost quite a bit of blood,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't really well either, but I didn't know it. I caught pneumonia
Okay.
sitting in that water.
Was this still winter?
No, it was in spring.
Spring, okay.
And so I remember when they pulled us out, it took them 20 minutes to dig us out.
Okay.
And when they got us out, they called a medic, and the medics came up with a jeep. And the last I remember, they put me and my friend in the back seat, and my head was laying over the tire, spare tire. And they took off. I don't know where we went, but we were in a forward Army hospital.
Okay.
And I remember there was a major in that place because he had a gold star on
Right.
his helmet. And he said, "How do you feel, young man?" I said, "I'm not sure, but I don't feel good at all." He said, "Well, I can tell you why." He said, "You've contracted pneumonia. Have you ever had a problem with your lungs?" I said, "Yes, when I was younger." So he had a medic come over and he put PX4 on my forehead.
Okay.
Every 4 hours I had to get penicillin.
Right.
And so they took me out of this hospital and they brought me to an airfield and they flew me to England.
Okay.
And so I was in a hospital in England for 49 days
Wow.
recovering from this.
Uh-huh.
And I also had, when they fired those 88s at
Right.
the barn, they used some thermite grenades. I don't know if you know what those are.
Well, thermite would be heat, so.
Yeah, they're like molten metal.
Okay.
And they used them, and I didn't even know it, but it hit my one arm and hand.
So you were burned.
I was burned, and so that also had to be taken care of.
Okay.
So that's how I got to England, and that's how I got away from the busyness of the war.
Okay. So you were there for 49
days.
49 days.
Right.
You got over the pneumonia. They took care of the burns.
Yeah.
Did your family know anything about what was happening?
No.
Did they know you'd been wounded?
No.
Or
No.
nothing.
You weren't allowed to put that in a letter.
So were you allowed to correspond with them?
Oh, I did write them some letters finally, but I couldn't write when I first got to the hospital.
Right.
I was so sick. That's the only time in my life I've ever felt so sick. If I died, it would be okay.
Yeah. So when you would write letters, who would go through the letters? Who would censor the letters?
Oh, they have a censor that after I got out of the hospital, I had lost, I think, 18 pounds.
Okay.
And they sent me to Scotland, and some officer come in and said, "Your orders are being cut this evening, and tomorrow morning you'll be leaving here, and we'll put you on a train, and you're going to go to Glasgow, Scotland.
Okay.
And when you get there, you keep those orders with you, and somebody will meet you." Well, that all worked out. I got to Glasgow, and they met me, and they put me in a port management outfit.
Okay.
And I guess I was there about maybe 2 weeks. They told me to guard some prisoners in my spare time. So I did that. And
German prisoners?
Then we finally got our orders, and we got on a ship, and we went toward the Panama Canal. And
Okay.
after we're in the Panama Canal, the captain on the ship announced that the war with Japan is coming to somewhat of a close. And there are 13 American troop ships heading toward Japan as we speak. He said, out of the 13, 8 will be diverted back to San Francisco. The rest will go on to Japan. And I was one of those 5 that went to Japan.
So
Lucky.
You went from the European theater down through to the Panama Canal. You came back.
Right.
And then through the Panama Canal and to
Went
Japan.
to Japan, yeah.
Okay. And what year was this? Was this some 46, 40?
Oh, I'll have to look that up for you.
Okay, do you remember how old you were at that time?
No.
Okay.
Can I go back on
Sure,
something?
sure.
The one of the battles we were in the edge of Holland near Roermond, we got beat up quite a bit, and many of our half-tracks and tanks were knocked out. So they put what was left of our outfit in trucks, and they took us to this little town called Sibbe by Valkenburg in the Netherlands. And it was a quaint little place. And we were expected to sleep in Dutch barns. Dutch barns are really clean. And all these places are 4 walls around it.
Uh-huh.
There's a courtyard in the middle for
Okay.
animals. And so I said to a friend of mine, let's go for a walk. We got the afternoon free, so we kind of walked down some of these lanes. And a woman came out of her house. It looked like a huge pizza.
Okay.
What it was an apricot pie, and she put it on her cobblestone fence to cool. And that's when I came walking along.
Uh-huh.
And because I knew a little bit of Dutch through my grandmother talking
Uh-huh.
to my mother, I said to this lady, "Smaakt lekker, ah? Veel, American soldaten." She put the pie down, she ran around the gate, and she came out and gave me the biggest kiss she ever had. And they insisted I stay there. So
what had you said to her?
Huh?
What had you said to her? In English, what would it
It's very good.
Oh, okay.
Tastes good.
be?
Or it ought to be good, something like that. And she knew what that was. So I told her my name. She said, "Hoe is der namen?" I said, "Vandermeer." That's how you say it in Dutch.
Right.
So I had a little handle on some of that stuff. And so my friend and I, we went down to the mess truck, and whether we stole it or just acquired it somehow, we took some coffee and some
Uh-huh.
sugar and some flour, and we brought it up there to her house. And my friend he had another assignment he had to do, so he didn't stay with me. But I asked my lieutenant, I said, "You mind if I stay in this house? These people really like me, and I like them." "Get all you can, Howard." "Have they got another room for me?" So I stayed with them for a week and a half, and I was their warden. They have shutters they close at night, so the Germans can't see lights from their airplanes.
Okay.
And so they close the shutters at 5 or 6 o'clock. And at night, I was teaching them how to sing "Red Sails in the Sunset." "I'll take you home again, Kathleen." And they're trying to teach me the Dutch national anthem, and I learned how to do that. And the Germans were shooting rockets from somewhere in Germany, heading over this town, and they were headed toward Liège, Belgium.
Okay.
And you could hear them coming. They make a certain racket.
Right.
And I was their watchdog, so when I'd hear one of them, I'd go by the front door and make sure I could hear one. I'd say, "Fligamaboomen," and the whole family goes down in the cellar.
What does that mean? What you said?
The Fligamaboomen,
Yeah.
that's a flying rocket.
Oh, okay.
And as long as you can hear the engine, you're okay because it isn't going to fall.
Right.
And only once did one fall. I mean, I heard it sputter and then die out. And it landed on the far end of the town and took out about a half a block of
Okay.
buildings and so on. So I was their watchdog.
Okay.
And would you believe that I still communicate with their great-great-great-grandchildren on email.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that
Wow.
amazing?
That is amazing.
That's a side issue. I just
That's
had
a
to tell you
great
that.
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
by the way, were you a private at this time?
I was a T5.
Okay.
Uh, that's as high as I got. See, when we were in combat, you didn't find anybody volunteering to be a first lieutenant or second lieutenant.
Right.
Because in the armored infantry, you had to lead your platoon. You don't stand in the back.
Right.
It's like when I made application for my Bronze Star.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I had a letter back saying, while there are certain facts we're relying on, the fact that it was not signed or authorized by a brigadier general or higher may invalidate your claim.
Okay.
And I wrote him back and I said, well, sir, where I was in Germany, you couldn't find a general anywhere near the combat troops. I said they were usually 50 to 100 miles behind,
Mm-hmm.
and they were.
Right.
I got another letter from somebody else. I guess he got embarrassed. It says your wish was granted. So anyhow, that was just a side issue.
Okay, so you went from, do you remember the ship that you were on, what the name of the ship was?
Seabass.
That was the Seabass,
Yeah.
okay. So
It had 1,200 troops on it.
wow, was that another passenger ship that had
No,
been converted,
no.
or was it a regular Navy
This
ship?
was a freighter,
Okay,
and they converted it. And we went.
how long do you know how long that trip took? That was a long trip from.
I think it took 8 days.
Okay.
We had days that we never saw a thing. One day somebody saw a bird, and I thought the ship was going to take.
Because everybody ran to see it.
Yeah, that's a fact.
What was it like on that ship when you were going through? What were your meals like?
Well, the meals weren't all that bad.
Okay.
And we didn't go to Japan direct. We went first first we had to stop in New Guinea to get some water. We ran out of water.
Okay.
And from there we went to the Philippines. And that's where I ate pineapple, sliced, diced, squeezed, quartered, whole, half.
A lot of pineapple.
I swore I'd never eat it again. Now I like it, 30 years afterward.
So how did you spend the time on the ship? Did you have duties while you were there?
Yes, we did.
What
Yes,
were your
we did.
duties while you were there?
I was assigned to a gun turret. They had
Okay.
gun turrets mounted on these freighters. And that was kind of a nice duty because the Pacific was big enough. You don't find a submarine every block. You know?
Right.
So I had it pretty easy. And I would play cards with guys and kill our time that way, or write letters home and hope you get somewhere where you can mail them. And that was a long journey.
Yeah.
So when I got to Japan, I was assigned to Kure, Japan. And Kure is part of a naval base. And to my surprise, I took a walk one day, and here was a dry dock, which was empty. And laying it like timbers
Uh-huh.
were two-man submarines.
Okay.
Those were called kamikaze submarines.
Uh-huh.
The guy drives that in, and he goes up with
It's
it.
the same idea with the planes, with
Yeah,
the subs.
right.
Right.
And in Kure, there was a railroad track going through the place. And if you wanted to take a long walk, you had to go under a viaduct. And on this side of the viaduct, where I was, there was Otis elevators, Westinghouse things, a lot of American
Okay.
things going on. And when you went under this viaduct, you go back 100 years, you'll see a woman pulling a cart
Okay.
with human waste.
Right.
And they're going up to the hills to spread that around on their crops.
Okay.
And the man just walks behind puffing a marijuana, cigarettes.
Uh-huh.
And it's a country of fantastic contrast. There's a lot of beautiful things like it too. So one day, my friend and I, we decided we had heard about some of these islands, and so he commandeered a yacht, and we went over to this island, and we had Japanese steering the boat, and he couldn't speak English. So he took us to this warehouse, and he opened the door, and we both went in, and the guy made some paper, took some Japanese newspapers and lit it on fire for torches.
Okay.
We got in there, and the whole place is filled with mines. We're
Put that out.
You talk about funny things. So,
What was the reaction of the Japanese people when they would see you walking around the street?
I would say generally a spirit of resentment. Some were friendly, but very few, because this was not where the atomic bomb was dropped, see. And speaking of the atomic bomb, my same friend who I went to this island, he says, Howard, let's steal a Jeep and we'll go to Hiroshima. I said, okay. We didn't know anything about what radiation was or anything. I mean, it's just a bomb. So we went there, and somewhere I have some pictures I took, and I can't, those are the ones I can't find.
Okay.
All that's sticking out of ground is pipe about this high.
Just like about a foot high.
Foot to 2 feet high.
Everything else is
Everything
flat.
was just level because they use very light material.
Right.
And where there was tall buildings like 15 stories high, they imploded with the bomb and everything went down in it. And there was nothing left. There was nothing left standing. And we were there exactly 2 weeks before Major Seversky, the inventor of the helicopter, came to Hiroshima to look at it on behalf of the United States.
Okay.
That's how
Wow.
early we saw it. So that was sort of an interesting thing. And then when I went on honor flight on the 7th of July, they took us to the Air and Space Museum.
Right.
And I saw the Ilana Gay. That was very meaningful to me because I could tie that into what I saw.
It, right.
Yeah. So that was very interesting.
So, so the time you spent in Japan, how long were you there?
I'll try to dig that up for you.
Okay. Was it months or?
Oh, no. We probably were there for about 6 months.
About 6 months.
Maybe a little bit more.
Okay. And you were just, an army base had been established, or were you living in some old quarters from?
We were living in a warehouse. And the function of our unit was, I got the job of being a teletype operator.
Okay.
And ships would come into the harbor, American ships with supplies. And we have a quartermaster corps who would unload the ships. And what I would do is receive and send teletypes to Hawaii and places like that.
Okay.
Tracking on what ships were coming. And so the quartermaster could make plans to build something to house what they're going to receive.
Right.
So I did that for, I would say 85% of my time in Japan was spent doing that.
Okay.
And there's some very pretty parts of Japan too, quite nice. But I never could handle the language.
Yeah, it's a little different than what we're accustomed to. So you were there for 6 months.
I would say 6 months.
Okay, and then what?
Well, then I went home.
You were discharged?
Yep.
Okay.
We
and
came back to San Francisco, got on a train, and they took us to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin.
And that's where you were?
That's where I was discharged from.
Okay.
And a couple of my friends who were with me, we've been with me during the time I left Scotland.
Uh-huh.
We were so anxious to get home. We hired a cab at Camp McCoy, and three of us with our duffel bags went in this small cab, and we went to the Union Station. I called my parents to meet me.
Well, wow. So how long had you been gone? How long were you in Germany and Japan altogether?
Well, I was in the service for 28 months.
Okay.
So you might as well say that probably 22 months.
Okay, so just close to 2 years
Yeah.
that you were gone.
Right.
That trip home from Japan must have been a lot more fun than the trip on the way back, on the way in.
Yeah.
What was what ship did you take from Japan?
I don't know which
You
one
don't
that
know?
was. No.
Do you remember anything about how many men were on or what type
I
of ship?
remember it had 600 people on.
Well, that was smaller than
Yes, it
most of the
was.
ones.
We went back on a Navy transport.
Okay,
The other one was a cargo
right.
conversion.
So
So
how did it feel when you got back to American soil?
I could have kissed the ground. I really could have.
I understand.
And from just what I've told you, you can see I've gotten around quite a bit.
Yes, you did.
And I've had innumerable times when I was really shocked, like when my lieutenant got killed by that
Right.
mortar round, you know. And what it did to me is this. When I was here on the 7th, about the honor flight,
right.
I thought there would be all vets there, but it wasn't. It was just the public. There was 40-some people.
Right.
But I said to a couple of the vets, I said, I have a hard question for you. Have you ever asked yourself, as I have, what would I be like if I hadn't been in the Army? I said, that's a question nobody can answer.
Right, because of what you went through shaped who you are.
Right. I had a fellow, this is still on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a fellow ask me one time, he said, I understand you're a fundraiser for a ministry. I said, no, I'm not. Well, I saw your name on a letterhead. I said, well, yeah, but I'm not a fundraiser. I said, I couldn't raise a dime. He said, well, what's your name on there for? I said, because I'm on the board. I said, what I am, though, is a relationship builder. I build relationships with people. And you'd be surprised how many people wind up saying, is there some way I can help, Howard?
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you call that fundraising or relationship building, I'll pick relationship building anytime.
Right. So let's see, when you got back to the States, you went to California. Did you go to Hawaii first?
No.
You went straight to California?
Right to California.
And how long were you in California? Is it long enough to get on a train, or was it?
It was a very short time, probably just to get organized to go on a train. We didn't bill it or anything.
Okay, so you got to Wisconsin.
Yep.
You called your parents.
Yep.
They had no idea you were coming home.
No.
Okay. And so you called them while you were in Wisconsin. You didn't go directly home first.
Right.
Okay, and they must have been thrilled to hear your voice.
They sure were.
And did they meet you at
They met me at the Union Station.
And what do you remember of that reunion?
Not all that much, really. It's a busy place around there.
Yes, it is.
And all I know is we took our bags out of that taxi cab and we went inside the train station doors. My two friends smoked all the time, and I did too a little bit, but never a lot. And we just waited for my parents to show up. So I stayed by the door, figuring if they pull up there, I'll
Right.
recognize their car. And it was the usual thing. You wrap your arms around each other and say, it's so good to be home. And
So-
it really was.
Oh, I bet. Did people come over to the house when you got home, or was it just a
Well,
quiet homecoming?
Within a day or two, they started coming over.
Okay,
See, all my brothers and sisters were older than I am.
right, you were the baby.
I'm the baby of the family and spoiled. And it was an interesting. In fact, when I think of my life and all the places I've been, how many people have done what I've done and been where I've done?
Circle the globe.
Huh?
You circled the globe.
Yeah, just about. And I've met some of the most interesting people. It's just amazing. And my wife and I went up to Expo in Canada that time.
Uh-huh.
And we were staying in a very good hotel. And we pressed the button for the elevator, and it wasn't supposed to stop, but it did, because the Prince of Greece was on that elevator.
Oh.
The princess.
Right, right.
And her car was parked out in front, so Betty and I got out of the elevator, and I turned around and we walked toward the door, and I said, may I take your picture when you get by your car? Yes, you may. So I had a picture of the Queen of Greece.
So when you got home, everybody started coming to welcome you. What was the first meal you had when you got home?
The what?
What did you eat when you got home? Was there anything special that you hadn't had?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you go to school? Did you
Yes,
go back to school on the GI Bill?
I went to school under the GI Bill. That was another strange story.
Okay.
My father had a debilitating stroke,
Okay.
something like something I had. And he had that when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
And he never really recovered. He walked with a limp and some other problems. And so up until that time, my parents were not poor, but they weren't rich either. They were just
Somewhere in the middle.
middle class.
Right.
And my father, which my wife says I am patterned after so much, my wife says my father could talk to a barber pole as long as it kept turning. She says, and so does Howard. So, and that's the joy of life.
Mhm.
So, then I had to get a job, and I was out looking for a part-time job, and then they called me for Northwestern, and I went to Northwestern. And
Northwestern University?
yes, and
What were you studying there?
I started studying psychology, and I forget what the other thing
Okay.
was. But anyhow, because I was working one and two, sometimes two side jobs,
Right.
I got pretty sleepy in class.
Yeah.
One time I fell asleep and I was in the back row, and we were seated by alphabetical order, so I'm always on the back.
Yeah.
And this professor said, would somebody wake up that gentleman in the corner, please? I have an important question to ask him. And I never liked this guy. From the moment I saw him, I knew we couldn't possibly get along. And he says, Mr. Vandermeer, we're continuing where we left off last week. And he said, I need you to give me a complete description of how you would define sales, S-A-L-E-S. Can you do that? I said, sure. I said, sales is creating a desire. That's not what I'm looking for. Well, I said, I don't know a better way to describe it. Do you? And after the class was winding down a little bit, some kids stay around a little bit to put their books together and make some notes. He come over to my desk and he says, I just want you to know that you're going to get a failing grade here. I said, why? Because of my answer? He said, yes. And you're going to get a failing grade. I said, well, that won't happen. He said, what makes you think so? I said, because I'm through. I picked up my books. I said, excuse me. I walked around them and I left Northwestern.
Okay.
And that's where I learned all my psychology, how to exit a room with a group like that.
So after you left that room, what did you do?
Well,
did you go just start working? Did you go somewhere else?
I just started working a little longer on 2 of my part-time jobs.
Okay.
And then I went downtown one day. I answered an ad in a paper. And I had to go to the offices of the Metropolitan Trust Company. And when I saw that, I thought, maybe they need a kid in the mailroom or something like that. So I went there. And I got interviewed by a fellow who was their comptroller. And he asked me a whole lot of questions, and questions you wouldn't do that now. He'd say, do you go to church?
Oh yeah, they can't ask it now, right?
And he was asked me all sorts of personal questions. And he said, all right, we're going to give you the job. Now, I wrote down here instructions where it is. You have to go to South Chicago. And he said, I want you to be there. I want you to report there at 8:30 in the morning tomorrow. Well, I went back home. My parents were glad I got a job. I got on a streetcar, transferred 3 times, got down to 101st and Commercial Avenue, across the railroad track, and it looked so creepy. Here's this goofy looking slip with sunken barges and sticking up. And the characters hanging around in the corner, I wouldn't want to meet them at night.
Right.
So I got disgusted and I turned around and I went back home. The next morning my phone rang at home and he talked to my mother. He says, is there something wrong with Howard Vandermeer? Is he ill? Well, no, he's standing right here. Do you want to talk to him? And so I talked to him. He says, why weren't you there? I said, well, I lost my way. So I went home. He says, tomorrow morning, you take a cab down there. And you make sure you get there at 8:30. I said, yes, sir. So I went down there, took a cab, and the office was a 2-car garage. And there was a superintendent who ran the whole schmear. And there was a clerk by the name of Bob McNally. He did everything else. And I was assigned the job of going out with a clipboard and writing down car numbers on it, then hurrying back to the office and pulling the waybills before they went over the dumper.
Okay.
And I had to sometimes do it at night, sometimes in the daytime. So the superintendent sort of took a shine to me. And finally he says, you know how to do payroll, Howard? I said, yeah, I can do that. I never did one in my life. So when the day to make the payroll came up, I says, can I see the old payroll sheet? I figured it all out by myself. And I became the payroll clerk. About 5 years later, they made me traffic manager. And finally, I don't remember the date, But a fella came in the office. We had a warm morning stove in it for heat, you know. And this guy came in with a Hamburg hat. He says, "Good morning, young man. My name is Leo Geisel." No, he didn't tell me his name. He said, "I'm here representing some potential buyers of this company. And would you mind if I look around in your office?" I says, "No, come in." I opened the door for him. And he said to me, "Now, what's your program, young man? What's your ambition? What would you like to be?" I said, "Well, I'm going to be president of the company." "Are you sure?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah. My name is Leo Geisel. I'm the new president." Another crack I fell through.
So it sounds like you got back, and although the school didn't work out the way you would have liked,
Yeah.
you got into a job.
Yeah. And I also took other courses like freight traffic management, transportation, and things that was really dear to me.
And where did you take those?
Well, freight traffic management, that was on Franklin Street somewhere.
Was this on GI Bill also, or?
No.
This was just.
This is a technical school.
Okay.
And so I learned as much as I could about things like that.
Uh-huh.
And 21 years later, I succeeded Mr. Geisel.
That's.
And he was so kind to me. He used to sit in the athletic club playing cards. That was his forte.
Okay.
And way back then, he was making $69,000 a
Which
year.
was a big deal.
And he'd call me up one time, "Howard, I have to meet you. I need to have a meeting." I said, "Where'll I meet you?" "At the athletic club." Then he tried to get me to play with some old cronies. And so I succeeded him. And he was very good before that. He let me diversify the company. He asked me if I knew what diversification meant. I said, "Sure I do." I said, "But I just can't think offhand how I'm going to substitute something for 7 million tons of coal." Because coal was going downhill. That was the time when the EPA came out. And we went through a lot of bloody messes with EPA restrictions. So finally, while he was still president, one of the directors whose coal company I work with, he took a shine to me, and he told Mr. Geisel, "Why don't you put Howard Vandermeer on your board? He's the guy that knows everything about this business." So I got on the board, and it was just a few years later when he retired. So I diversified our company into bentonite clay, into specialty cokes, into meals and feeds. And finally I got word from the chairman of Peabody Coal Company, who also took a shine to me. He told me to come to St. Louis. He had some information. So I went in to see him. He says, "Howard, I got some news for you. Peabody Coal is going to be sold. There's a large conglomerate in England that's going to take over Peabody Coal Company. Yeah, they said we have to divest everything we have except the coal mines, which means rail and water." And he says, "Now, you know my attorneys, you know my bookkeepers." He says, "I'm going to send a memo to each of these people, and I'm going to tell them to expect Howard Vandermeer to call. And you get anything you need, and they'll be there for you." So as it happened, this is in 1998, I went to Ernst & Winnie and had them change over our pension plan into an individual plan. And that took about a year, just about the time when we were going to sell the company. So I got that done. And then the board decided to go to either Goldman Sachs or Bear Stearns to try to sell the company. and they couldn't sell it.
Mhm.
So the guy from Peabody says, Howard, can you sell it? I said, yeah, I'll sell it for you. And I said, I don't know if I can, but I'll sure give it a good try, because I knew all the people in the business.
Mhm.
So I sold it to our biggest customers. When it got through, he says, he called, I had to go back to Peabody for some reason. I got down there, I was talking to the attorney, and Mr. Quentin walks in, he says, Howard, how did you swing that deal? I said, well, they're our biggest customer. He says, how much are you going to charge us for selling it? I said, probably $90,000. Just like that. It just came out of my mouth. I couldn't stop it. He said, okay, that's a deal.
Well, it sounds like you were able to make that transition very successfully from the military into private life.
Yeah, I did.
Do you still have any, or did you maintain contact with anybody you met in the Army? Or?
I maintained contact with two people, one fellow in Green Bay and another in Grand Rapids. My friend in Grand Rapids died on the operating table. He had an operation and the doctor made some kind of mistake.
Okay.
So his widow told me. And the fellow in Green Bay, or Algoma, Wisconsin, he and I were pretty close. And he died just of natural causes.
Right.
So I really don't have anybody I know that's been in the service that I knew.
Do you belong to any veterans organizations? Or?
No, but I support paralyzed veterans. I support VFW. I support most of these veterans organizations with money.
Okay.
But I don't belong to the organization.
How did your experiences in the military affect the way you think about the military, or the way you think about life in general?
Well, it made me mature. That's the bottom line. When you see people getting killed, and when you see people shooting at you, you start thinking a little differently than before.
Right.
And I would say I've matured 1,000 years in 22 months. and I sometimes think about, I remember when I killed a couple of Germans, and that doesn't bother me, but it's always in the back of my library.
Uh-huh.
That I did that. Was that the right thing to do? Then I have to justify it by saying, well, if I didn't, they'd do it to me.
Right.
So then that makes the suffering a little less difficult. And but I would say that, yes, I matured a whole lot. And like my father, now I'm glad to say I'm like my father. I love to talk. I love to meet people. I recently gave a speech to the high schoolers in our church. I told them, I said, you're all going to go to college, I guess, but if you really want to be successful, you have to practice the art of getting along with people. I said, now I am the laziest person I know, but I managed to befriend people who will help me do what I have to do. And I said, if there's one thing I remember of all the things I learned and all the things I forgot, it was one thing. Never be afraid to say to a person, how do you do that? Even if the person you're talking to has some proprietary things that he doesn't tell people, he'll be glad to share it with you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you have to realize that what you have in you. If somebody asked you about what you were doing, you'd answer them, and you'd say it with some pride. This is the way I did it.
Right.
And I said, that's the way I learned how they done it, so I could do it. And I said, that was the median of my success.
Okay.
Long and short. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay.
And now all these kids, when they graduated this past June, my wife and I had to go to 6 graduation parties. So I must have made an impression.
Must have made a good impression. Is there anything else we haven't covered in this interview that you'd like to mention before we finish?
I play a little bit of golf. I'm not a good golfer. I used to tell my big customers when I'd have men from Canada, I'd say, I have to play company golf. I have to let you win. They didn't know I was playing my heart out trying to beat them. One of my best hobbies was sailing my sailboat. And we used to have a condominium on Spring Lake, Michigan, near Grand Haven. And I could go out on Lake Michigan and take a friend or two along. And when I had it over by McCormick Place, that was one of the most memorable times of my life. I'm out at 6 o'clock at night. The sun is starting to go down. There's no noise from a motor, and just the waves lapping against the boat. And that beautiful skyline here, and beautiful clouds over here. You couldn't find anything more beautiful than that.
Okay, well, if you have nothing else to add, we're going to go off record with this now.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you for sharing your story.
Well,